It's a brand new year and the Tar Heels are trying to reach elite status. Sounds like they need some resolutions to get there.
This is Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Thursday, January 1st, 2026. Happy New Year, everybody. I feel like I need one of those little kazoos, coach. Welcome in to this edition of the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. I want to thank you for making us your first listener watch of the brand new year. Special shout out to all the everydayers, all the Locked On Tar Heels Discord members, and our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Joining me to ring in 2026 is my friend and yours, Coach Bill Robinson, the head coach of the Milligan University Buffaloes and a 2-decade veteran of Carolina Basketball School, which is the Tar Heels summer basketball camp. Really, really cool stuff there. By the way, Coach has written a book all about all those experiences, actually called Carolina Basketball School History, Stories, and Drills. It's a great thing, great reading for you before you head back to school or work in the brand new year. If somebody didn't buy it for you for Christmas, they messed up and you need to tell them to get it for you as a little post-Christmas gift. Here's where Coach and I are headed on the show today. We're going to talk about some New Year's resolutions for the Tar Heels. The way we're going to frame it is Carolina has been good. They're 13-1, but how do they reach elite status? So Coach and I'll look at some resolutions for that. We'll talk about the offense because the defense has been so steady, so solid, but the offense has been a little up and down. How can they find more consistency in the new year? And then we'll wrap by looking ahead a little bit to Saturday, where Carolina travels to SMU, but 3 of their next 4 games are on the road in brand new arenas that Carolina as a team has never been to. How do you handle that? And then we'll just wrap talking some fun stuff. Coach and I got to get together over the weekend when I was in Tennessee for the holiday. Super fun stuff there. So Coach, Rob, great to be together on this New Year's Day. We're actually recording behind the scenes for you all on New Year's Eve. So it's great stuff. We haven't actually celebrated yet. Coach, I'm planning to be up till midnight. I might need a 5-hour nap ahead of it, though. We'll see what happens there. Let's talk these resolutions. The Tar Heels are good, maybe even great. But, Coach, I think you and I would both agree that there is another level that they can kick it to. I think the ceiling is higher than we've seen so far. So they're hovering, but they can get to great or elite. They're bumping up against the ceiling of that, and they need to break through. How do they do it? Let's use some New Year's resolutions to get them there. For you, what in your mind are some of those resolutions?
Yeah, I think the first thing for me is anytime you want to go from good to great, and we've had these conversations as coaches, you need to get that one stop. We need that one stop. You need that one bucket. We need that one bucket. So those are things now at this part of the season. I think it's those situational opportunities late in game, and obviously defense has been great, but I would like a resolution to see as we go along another scorer step up. Because if it is a late game situation, they're not going to let Caleb touch it. They're going to keep the ball out of Henry's hands. Obviously, Seth is back and seems to be fine. He seems to be great. But sometimes you're going to need an extra person to be able to knock down a shot. And looking at numbers offensively, our 3-point percentage is not great. Free throw shooting percentage is not great. So those would be my 2 resolutions. I'd love to see our shooting percentages go up in those 2 areas and maybe have that whether it's Jonathan or Luka, somebody to be able to knock down more consistent 3-point shots.
Who would you – so outside of those big 3 that you just mentioned, and Coach, one of the things I was talking about, I haven't mentioned this to you, so you may or may not have realized this. Prior to Seth scoring 20 on Tuesday night, no Tar Heel outside of Caleb or Henry had gotten to 20 points this season. Seth was the first one to do it. I think we can lump him in with Caleb and Henry as the most 3 trusted offensive players on the team. If those, and it's hard for a defense situationally, end of game, to shut down all 3 of those guys, but let's say they do. Who for you, like your Coach Rob, you're drawing up an end of game play and you have the foreknowledge that all 3 of those players are going to be taken out of the equation. which Tar Heel would be your fourth option in taking that shot?
Kyan Evans played great last night. He hit 5 threes, and I think he's got to be in discussion. But to me, Jonathan Powell is playing well, and I think he starts maybe sneaking some more of Luka's minutes. And Luka's still, I mean, I think a very viable option. But in my mind, I think Jonathan Powell is closing in on his minutes and maybe closing in on maybe even his role a little bit. So, but those are not bad things. Those are good things. I want to make sure everybody understands that. When you have too many good players, that's not a problem. We can always figure that out. It's when you have guys that are not, or a position that just not getting any production at all. We're getting production everywhere. And I think with him stepping up allows the Jarin Stevenson discussion for him to be able to go towards the post area and be able to be the depth there that we need, and keeps the rotation pretty solid within that core.
I like that take, Coach, on the Jonathan Powell being that guy, because what I like about him is he seems to have a little bit of an edge to him. Like don't mess with JP. It might be a little wacky in the head, but I like that he can hit that three. He's not hesitant to take it. He'll fire that off, but he's also got the range and length and athleticism to get to the rim if needed in a moment like that too. So let's say I'm JP, I'm taking that last shot. You close out, baby. I'm attacking that closeout and getting to the rim, and he's got the size to finish. And so I think I'm in agreement with that. I also like what you said about him taking some of Luka's stuff away. Not that I like that for Luka, but it's JP rising to the occasion, and that's a massive win. To your point about the free throws and the 3-point shooting, and obviously we'll talk more, maybe some about that in the offensive conversation in the next segment. But Coach, this is a team to me that if you look at the individual players, the free throw shooters are there. The 3-point shooters are there. What is it about the collection of the talent that is not allowing Carolina to succeed at the level that the numbers suggest they should in frees or threes?
There's a great mystery there. We have great shooters who are bad free throw shooters. Doesn't make any sense. You got guys who shoot 90% in high school and then they get to college and they can't make a free throw. It's different from a mental perspective. It's very different getting to the college level and playing in arenas that are not familiar with, but that's not an excuse. I really do think it comes down to confidence. And I think, it's easy for us to talk about it. From a coaching perspective, we don't want to talk about it. You don't want to say, hey, man, you haven't made 2 free throws in a row in a week. You don't want to go back there. You just want to give them as much confidence. Hey, knock these down and let's go do this on defense. So I do think it's a big confidence thing, and it's just building those guys up to hey, next shot's going to go type of thing.
Coach, my resolution kind of actually builds off your 3-point conversation there, is that I want to see Carolina continue to play more inside out in ACC play of, hey, your best asset, you just said it a minute ago, Coach, are your front court guys, and Henri Wilson. Yep, that works. Henri Wilson and Caleb Veesaar. They're dudes. But what we see is teams consistently starting to double both of those players, and they're both willing and capable passers. And then when we know what a good assisting team this Carolina team is, they swing the ball really well and find the best shot. But Coach, it seems like too often, and Florida State game was a good example of it, where Carolina allowed themselves to settle for a lot of those threes. And I know Florida State's defense was predicated on stopping that, and I get it. But you have to recognize your best offensive capability is inside, go there, and then find the best shot out of moving the ball from there. Coach, how can Carolina in the new year make that a resolution? Or do you disagree with me that is where they need to go, is play inside out as often as humanly possible?
No, I think you want to go to your strengths. And if you know what your strengths are, reinforce them. And maybe shoot less threes and attack more off the dribble and be able to make that extra pass. But I don't want the defense to dictate what we do. Let's focus on what we do best and focus on that. As much as they're trying to get the ball out of those 2 guys' hands, it's got to go back to them. One of my, if I did a doctoral thesis, I would love to do it on the percentage of a second post entry to the same. When somebody gets doubled or kicks it back out, or for whatever reason, to throw it right back to him again, that shooting percentage goes way up. And I love to see that next pass to go back in there. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a shot, but you're continuing to get the ball to the post, and the defense has to react to that. So it's one of those things I love to see, maybe a ball swing and an extra pass, and then that guy attack and then make an extra pass from there. That next three is going to be even more open than that first one would be.
That's a great hypothesis. I'd love to know the numbers on that as well. And can that, we so often talk about moving the defense by getting the ball side to side, that kind of thing. Can it work similarly with the in and out of a repost like that of, hey, like the first post entry, we were locked in and we were ready for that defensively, but oh shoot, it's coming back and I had let off a little bit. You think that plays into it, that psychology?
Yeah, it definitely does, and especially that matchup in the post, because once the ball goes out, that guy's like, "Hey, I stopped him. I did my here it comes back again," and now all of a sudden,
too late.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons we like to do it. But then you also have the scramble effect, so everybody's digging, and then when that ball goes out, everybody scrambles. Well, while they're scrambling, you throw it right back in again. They're not going to be able to scramble and dig as much as they did the initial post touch.
Gosh, I love this so much. That's a resolution. Repost. More a double entry. I love it. I'm here for it. Now, Coach, speaking of all that, we want to look more at Carolina's offense and how in the new year they can find better levels of consistency, because so far it's been the defense that's been better at it. And hey, defense wins championships, so we'll take that, but love to see the offense continue to rise to that level. We'll look at that in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, y'all, Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel's making them even now better, because every Friday night before NBA games tip off, FanDuel's bringing you a brand new thing called the NBA Happy Hour. It's a 90-minute window from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where they're going to drop special offers right inside the FanDuel app before all the Friday night action gets going. Boosts, bonuses, surprises, things of that nature. It's going to make this happy hour appointment viewing, and there's always something to check in before tip off, and you can chick it, make a move before the window closes. The Wooden Award odds for men's college basketball right now: Duke's Cam Boozer leads the way at -175. AJ DeBonta at BYU +300. Braden Smith at Purdue is +1,000. Yaxa Lendeborg up at Michigan +1,200. Caleb is fifth at +1,400. Maybe you want to get in on those odds. Great opportunity for you. But let's go back to the NBA Happy Hour. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app. See what's dropping in during that NBA Happy Hour. Again, every Friday night from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday night energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks so much for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listener watch of the day. Thanks for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network. If you want to go next level with the show, we got a brand new thing at Locked On. It's called the Everydayers Club, a great opportunity to interact daily with me, get all sorts of fun perks. You can check those out at the link lockedontarheels.supercast.com. You don't have to remember that. It's in the show notes below. There's 2 tiers. Would love for you to figure out how you can get connected even more with the show. Coach, Carolina's defense has been so much fun. You said it a lot this offseason. I anticipate that this could be an elite defense. And Coach, you're a little bit of a Nostradamus because it's proving true. Carolina has held every opponent under 75. The offense, though, has been a little bit more up and down this season. And I think there's potentially a lot of variables to that. And I'm interested to hear from you why that is. But statistically, for example, at KenPom right now, Carolina is 41st nationally in offensive efficiency, but 17th nationally in defensive efficiency. So you see a pretty big gap between those two things. Coach, why is it right now that in your mind that Carolina's offense is not operating as consistently yet as we would like to see?
I think the first point for me is just the absence of Seth Trimble. And we got your leader, your guy that's going to understand the offense because he's been there, he's done that. So his absence, even just for that short period of time, I think affected it in a negative way. Him coming back as strong as he did, I think is a huge positive. And I think you'll see the numbers start to increase now that he has come back. I think part of it too is you're establishing roles and rotations and all that stuff early on. I think there was some not tinkering, but you're trying to figure stuff out early on, and you're trying to see where everybody fits. And so maybe some guys getting some minutes that they normally wouldn't give, and so the efficiency offensively hasn't been perfect. Hasn't been as good as what we would want it to be. So I think those two factors, you're still trying early season, you're still playing some teams where you can kind of tinker with offenses and rotations and things like that. So I expect to see it come to a little tighter, and I expect to see the efficiency numbers go up.
Man, that's on both points of that. That's so great. And coach, one of the things I had noticed, I'm curious your thoughts on this. We saw it in that critical possession at the end of the Ohio. You were talking about end of game situations in the first segment. At the end of the Ohio State game, when Carolina was trying to get a bucket, it was Seth Trimble that had the ball in his hands. A couple times in the FSU game on Tuesday night, in like late shot clock or late situations, it was Seth that had the ball in his hands. It's not that Carolina is starting to go to him throughout a game as like the main point guard, but it's in some of those like critical moments where we have to have it. A, have you noticed that? And B, why do you think Coach Davis is doing it?
Well, I think it's about guards. Guard play has to be special at the highest level to be great. And obviously, end of game situations, you're not going to just throw it to Caleb and clear out and just let him go. That's not who he is right now. It will be, but it really comes down to the guard play. You have to have the ball in the guard's hands. So I do think it's intentional. I do think it's you get the ball to your senior, your leader, your captain, and allow him to make decisions. The fall down pass was one of the greatest plays. I really believe he passed that. I don't think it was a fumble. I mean, if you look at that film and really break it down, he was trying to get that ball over to him, and it ended up the stumble. I think just made that play even more effective. And it was. I mean, you're just making a play. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Obviously, it's not designed that way, but he made a play when they needed to, and you got the bucket when you needed a bucket, and you got the stop when you needed to stop, and that's what makes great teams.
I hear you. I initially thought it was just he lost it and Henry found it, but as he's falling, you see Seth, like the movement of the hands forward as he's trying to pass the ball, get it out of his hands. Crazy stuff. Great awareness from him there. Coach, it was interesting. David Devane in our live postcast after the Florida State game asked this, and I saved it intentionally for this conversation, said, do we have another slasher/scorer who can break apart opposing teams' defenses in the paint? Trimble seems to me to be the only guard who does this and gets folks involved when we are struggling. Coach, do you agree with that assessment? Are there other Tar Heels in your mind? Obviously, I think we would say that Seth is the highest level of I can get to the bucket anytime I want for this team. But are there other guards or even wings you think that can do it for Carolina to take some of that pressure off of Seth?
Yeah, if you're looking for somebody to make a penetration and make a pass and make other people better, I think that's Derek Dixon.
Boom.
I think he'll get to the paint and he'll make those decisions. If you're looking for somebody to break somebody down one-on-one and actually attack and to score, that's Luka and Jonathan Powell. And those guys are much more focused on getting their shot, I think, than Dixon. Dixon, I mean, again, you look at the numbers from last night, and Dixon looks, he had 0 for 3, he didn't do anything. He still made plays to win games, right? And he still had the assists. He still did some really great things. And if you ask him after the game if he's happy about his game, he'll say, yeah, we won. We won our first conference game. We're happy. It doesn't matter that he didn't make a shot. So, we do have some guys who can break it down. You do have some guys, but it's different. Do you want a guy to make other people better, or do you need a guy to make a shot? And I think those are the three best options.
Man, I'm very curious to see, as you mentioned those two things, Seth getting back and the roles being more defined and maybe the rotation shrinking as we get more into ACC play here. I'm interested and curious to see how that goes as things carry on here, moving to SMU on Saturday. Speaking of which, Coach, Carolina taking to the road 3 of their next 4 games, all of which are going to be arenas that Carolina has never played at in conference play. How do you prepare for that? I don't know, but Coach does, because this is what he does for a living. We'll talk about it in just a second. Right after I tell you about game time, y'all, there's nothing like college football season, tailgates, packed stadiums, being right there in the middle of it all. Today, New Year's Day, we've got 3 college football playoff quarterfinals. It's going to be electric stuff. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. Actually getting tickets to things like that used to be crazy difficult with trying to remember your login stuff or prices jumping up on you at checkout. But that's where Game Time comes in. It's the app that's actually giving the advantage back to the fans. The easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets in just a few taps. If you want to look at Carolina basketball tickets for upcoming Saturday at SMU, $110 to get in the door. It's going to be right. Like it's the first time Carolina's been there in ACC play. So of course, Moody Coliseum is going to be packed. Need Tar Heels to be there. If you're in the Dallas area, grab some of these tickets. Maybe you want to be back in the Dean Dome for Carolina's next home game, $120 to get in the door for the Wake Forest game. But remember, at Game Time, these are going to go down, these prices, the closer we get to tip off. It's an incredibly easy app to use, Game Time. You go from browsing to buying in just a few minutes. I also really like the zone deals opportunity that Game Time has. You pick the section you want to sit in, Game Time picks the seat, and it helps you save even more money. So take the guesswork out of buying college basketball and football tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Coach, on Saturday, Carolina going on the road to a true road environment, at least for just the second time in the regular season and just the third time overall when you include the BYU exhibition game, the other obviously being the game at Rupp Arena in the SEC-ACC Challenge. But, Coach, Carolina, 3 of their next 4, Saturday at SMU, then they host Wake the next Saturday, and then they go on the road at Stanford Wednesday, January 14th, at Cal Saturday, January 17th. That's 3 out of 4 road games, all of which are at arenas that Carolina is going to for the first time since those 3 schools have joined the ACC. How do you prepare a team, yourself, for everything that's involved in going to a brand new arena? And I don't just mean like playing, I mean like game day logistics and all of that.
Yeah, to me, it's about getting familiar with a new facility and being able to visualize exactly where everything is. So I like to get there. If we do play someplace new, like we did at Miami of Ohio, to get there the day before or 2 days before and get a chance to shoot around in the arena that you're going to play in, to find out where your locker room is, what bench you're going to be sitting on, all those little things that sound like they're not important, but to me as a coach, they are. And I think as a player, you want to be able to visualize where we're coming out, or are we walking through the student section, how are we getting to our bench, what's the crowd going to be like, what's it like shooting in this, what's the lighting like, all those different things I think are very important. I love to be able to visualize even where we're going to eat the pregame meal. Just make everything as comfortable as possible, whether you're doing it in the hotel or whether you're going out to eat someplace, but make it as comfortable as possible so the guys have been there and done that. Even walk around the facility a little bit. If they have a Hall of Fame in the lobby, or if they have something to walk around and just get more familiar with who you're playing. It doesn't necessarily have to be the basketball side of it. We went to Miami of Ohio, and there's Ben Roethlisberger in the Hall of Fame, and you're like, oh, that's cool, and some of the football stuff that was there. But just to get more familiar with your surroundings and more with what that school is all about, just gives you a better understanding about what you're up against and gives you some time just to relax and just figure out how you want to play.
Is that something for you? Like, is it important for you yourself to get to do that? Or would you say like, hey, I'm going to send Coach Ken, one of your assistants, off to kind of get that lay of the land and report back? Or is it good for you to like, I want to experience that myself so I know how to pass that along to the guys?
I want it for myself. I think it's important for me. So then I know exactly what it is. And even getting comfortable with, on the road, if you have interviews to do, or if you're whatever you're meeting with, I actually got to know one of the ushers at Miami, Ohio, named Jim, just to shake his hand and talk to him a little bit. And he said, tell me 3 things about Milligan that I wouldn't know about. So we talked about Milligan history and things like that. I even gave him a book just to give it, just to have that camaraderie and that feel. Yeah. Just to be able to understand exactly what, and then after a game or during the game, there's Jim making sure our team gets back to the locker room okay, and all those little things that make it just more comfortable and feel not at home, but you feel much more comfortable in a situation, even though you're on the road.
How different, obviously I know going from like the Dean Dome to playing at like Lucas Oil Stadium. I don't know if that's even what it's called anymore, where the Final Four is going to be this year. How truly different because I know that's always a storyline of like the shooting lines and all the depth behind the basket and things like that. From arena to arena, how different truly is that for a shooter's eye? I know you're a guard and that's your role yourself. But like, how much of a difference does that actually make?
I think it's different for everybody. It never affected me at all. And that's just the way it was. We play in small bandboxes at home, but then we go to the national tournament and play in Kemper Arena in got 10,000 people there. It's still 94 by 50s. You still got your court and it's still 10 foot high, all those little things you see on Hoosiers and that kind of stuff. But you do have to get used to what the surroundings are, and it does affect people different ways. But I really have always felt like if you focus on the rim and nothing else, the depth perception shouldn't be that big of a factor, but it does affect some people. So it is important you get into those arenas ahead of time and figure it out. We played at MTSU this year. The lighting, just the way the lights were, if you got to the corner and tried to shoot from the corner, the lights were right in your eyes. And you're like, well, we got to know that for tomorrow when we play, that you're just going to have to, whether you shoot that or maybe get to a different spot and not shoot that corner three. Just it's different. So Miami of Ohio was kind of a darker gym, an old gym, really a cool gym. I love playing there. MTSU is kind of more light, bright, and it's going to be different everywhere you play. So you just have to be ready to adjust.
Coach, as we said earlier, it is New Year's Day. We talked about New Year's resolutions for the Tar Heels earlier. Are you a resolution guy, or are you going to make any New Year's resolutions?
I'm not. I'm really not. There are things in my life that I would like maybe to slow down a little bit. Maybe it's time to say no to some things that I've been trying to say yes to in the past. But just I guess my biggest one is we have two new grandkids coming this year, 2026. So I want to spend more time with them. That would be probably the number one resolution for this year.
Oh man, that's special, Coach. I love that. I got to hear one of your grandkids' voices the other day, and it made me so happy. That was really sweet. Saying yes and saying no, Coach. Somebody once told me the quantity of your no's determine the quality of your yeses, and that like revolutionized my life. The amount of times you say no to something determines how much you can invest in the things you say yes to, and that like gave me permission to start saying no to things. So I'm right with you in that, and I love that resolution. Coach, I forgot to mention this when we were talking about going on the road. We were laughing beforehand. Notre Dame and Stanford played on Tuesday night. Notre Dame wins 47-40. This game was 22-17 at the half. Ooh, gross. What are we doing? We've set basketball back 80 years. Okay, Coach, one of the special things we got over the Christmas weekend was that my family lives in Johnson City, where Milligan is, in the Johnson City, Tennessee area. And so we were in town. And so you and I actually got to hang out on Sunday evening, got to come to a couple minutes of the end of Milligan's practice, spend a couple minutes with you and the guys, got to pray over the team. Coach, man, it was so special to get to spend that time together on Sunday.
No, it was great. And guys, we're really excited to see you too. And to get to go out to eat white duck taco and just kind of hang out and just talk about life is, so many people see us and obviously we get to hang out every week on here, but we don't really get a chance to see each other in person very much. So it was my pleasure and awesome time just to get to hang out for a little while.
Yeah, that was one of the true highlights of the entire trip, was just Coach and I spent an hour or two sitting at White Duck Taco Shop. Outside, the weather was perfect that day anyway. On Monday, it just tanked. It was so cold. But Sunday night, we're sitting outside. There's a fire going behind us, eating some tacos and chips, and just talking about life. And you guys, as we were saying, Coach saying earlier about slowing down and saying yes to the right things, like that is something you want to say yes to, is community and relationship over and over and over again. And so I know for some of you in this new year, maybe you're sitting there and lonely and don't have that, man. And I just want to say, man, thoughts, prayers to you, and hope you can find some community and people to be in your life and to love you in this new year. And I know one of those for Coach and I both, and I always say never want to ram this down the people's throat, is Jesus, who is the Lord of both of our lives. And if that's something you would ever want to talk about, I know I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. I know Coach would as well. Coach, best of luck to the Buffs as we get into the new year. No, took it on the chin a little bit on Tuesday night, unfortunately, but hopefully better days are ahead for you and the fellas there.
Yeah, we're going to keep fighting. And again, I'll throw this out there. My email is in the notes. If anybody wants to keep in touch, I'm a connector when it comes to life and just want to spend time with people. And I gave a book to a coach who brought his youth team to the Miami of Ohio game, just walked in the crowd at halftime, gave him a book. He emailed me, and I'd love to be able to keep in touch with people like that if I can help them with their endeavor with coaching or in life and things like that. So please reach out to me. We'd love to keep in touch.
And his coach is not lying. Truly is one of the most connecting people I have ever met. And it's so neat the way in which it just brings Coach joy to help people make connections and find one another in life. Maybe the thing I admire most about you is the way you do that with no pretense or no expectation of return. You just love seeing people get to know one another. You all, man, been great to be together here on this New Year's Day. Hope you're enjoying the beginning of 2026. Carolina is 13-1. Oh, baby. And it's great. As we talked about earlier in the show, they're good and they're trying to get to elite. And if we'll take a good 13-1 team, yeah, I can live with that every day of the week. I'll be back with you tomorrow to preview this road trip to SMU. Carolina looking for their 4th quad 1 win already on the young season. Oh boy, what a difference that is from last year. If you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, do it right now so you don't miss a second. If you've not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, that link is in the show notes. We'd love to see you in there, as well as in the brand new Everydayers Club. That link also in the show notes. Again, let me remind you about Coach's book. Really, really good stuff. You can find it on Amazon. He mentioned earlier you can email him, and he will send you a signed copy if you want to connect in that way. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Can't wait to talk to you again tomorrow. But until then, peace.